Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. I still remember the smell of antiseptic clinging to my jacket that night, the scent that should have reminded me where I belonged. Instead, I walked out of the hospital parking lot, heart pounding, guilt whispering behind me like a shadow I refused to face. My husband, Daniel, was lying in room 308 with a fractured leg and a head injury from the car accident. And I was walking away to see my ex. The rain fell in thin, cold needles, soaking through my blouse as I sat in the car. My phone buzzed with a message from Daniel's sister. "He's awake. Asking for you." Typed a quick lie. "I'm on my way." Then I drove in the opposite direction. Ryan had texted earlier that day. "I heard about Daniel's accident. Are you okay?" The message had cracked open something I thought was buried long ago. Ryan, my ex, my almost forever, the one who left without a goodbye 5 years ago. It was supposed to be a quick meeting. Closure, I told myself. I just needed to see him once, face him, prove that he no longer had power over me. But the truth. I missed the way he made me feel, alive, seen, desired. Daniel had become distant lately, drowning in work and worries. The night before the accident, we had argued. I had screamed that I felt invisible. He had shouted that I was selfish. And now I was proving him right. When I reached Ryan's apartment, he was already waiting by the door, looking exactly as I remembered. Confident, calm, the kind of man who could smile his way through guilt. "Lena," he said softly, stepping closer. "You came." "I shouldn't have," I whispered. "But you did." The air between us felt heavy, electric, poisoned with temptation. We sat on his couch, two people pretending it was just conversation. But every word carried history. Every glance hinted at something reckless. He asked about my life, my marriage, Daniel. I told him everything except the part about Daniel lying unconscious when I walked away. Ryan listened, eyes fixed on me like I was still the center of his world. "You deserve better," he said finally, voice low. "You always did." Those words cracked me open. For a moment I wanted to believe them. I wanted to believe that what I was doing wasn't betrayal, that I was just searching for myself again. But when he reached for my hand, something inside me twisted. I saw Daniel's face, bandaged, pale, waiting. I saw the promises we made. The nights he held me when I cried. The laughter we had lost but once shared. I pulled my hand away. "I can't do this," I said, standing abruptly. "He needs me." Ryan's smile faltered. "You think he still deserves you? After everything?" "He's my husband," I whispered. "And I left him alone." He tried to stop me at the door, his voice rising, anger spilling through his charm. "He's not your future, Lena. You and I, we had something real. Then why did you leave me?" Shot back. "Why now?" He didn't answer. The silence was louder than thunder. I walked out, heart hammering. The rain had stopped, but the streets glistened under the streetlights like broken glass. My reflection in the windshield looked foreign. Someone I didn't recognize, someone I didn't respect. By the time I reached the hospital, it was past midnight. The sterile brightness of the hallway burned my eyes. I hurried toward room 308, rehearsing what I'd say. I got stuck in traffic. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. Lies came easily when fear drove them. But when I opened the door, Daniel wasn't alone. His sister, Claire, was sitting beside the bed, her expression cold, her eyes sharp. "Where have you been?" she asked. I just stepped out to get some air," I stammered. She rose, arms crossed. "For 4 hours." Daniel stirred, his eyes flickering open. The bruise on his forehead made my stomach churn. "Lena." His voice was weak, searching. "You came back." Claire gave me one last disgusted look before leaving. The door closed, and silence filled the room. I moved closer to his bed, guilt pressing down like a weight I couldn't lift. He reached for my hand. "I thought you'd gone home," he said. "I'd never do that," I lied again. But he looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Not anger, not gratitude, something else. Doubt maybe. Or recognition? He turned his head slowly toward the bedside table. My phone was lying there. Claire must have brought it in. The screen was still on. Ryan's last message glowed in the dim light. "You'll regret walking away again." Daniel's eyes met mine. Froze. He didn't shout. He didn't ask. He just stared at me, and in that silence, everything broke. The beeping of the heart monitor filled the room. My throat tightened as I tried to explain. "It wasn't what you think. I just needed to talk to him." "I didn't." He looked away. "You left me alone in a hospital bed to talk to your ex." Tears blurred my vision. "It was a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you." His voice was calm, almost too calm. "People don't mean to betray. They just choose themselves over someone else." That line cut deeper than any scream could have. For a long moment he said nothing else. Then he closed his eyes, as if the sight of me hurt too much. I wanted him to yell, to curse, to release the storm building between us. But his quiet was worse. It was final. The next morning I came back with coffee and his favorite muffins, hoping for forgiveness. But the nurse told me he had already been discharged. No message. No note. Just gone. Days passed with no word. I called, texted, begged his family for updates, but Claire blocked my number. Eventually, I drove home to find our apartment emptied of his things. A letter waited on the kitchen counter. The handwriting was his. "Lena, you were my reason to fight through the pain that night. But when I woke up, I realized I had already lost you. I don't hate you. I just can't stay married to someone who leaves when love hurts the most." I read it over and over until the words blurred. I dropped to the floor, sobbing, realizing that regret doesn't always come like a thunderclap. Sometimes it seeps in quietly, curling around your heart until you can't breathe. Now, every time I drive past that hospital, I see my reflection in the glass doors and remember the night I chose wrong. I left a man who would have given me everything for a ghost of what used to be. Ryan texted me once more after that. I never replied. Some betrayals can be forgiven, but not all are meant to be repaired. And mine was the kind that ends love, not with fire but with silence.